I don't even know what to start talking about here. This game made me feel so many things. I laughed, cried, and a lot of times I wondered, what is going on? Yakuza 0 is a 2015 game by Sega, and it's mainly a crime drama, but all of the content underneath is completely different. Like, I remember the first time I saw this game online, I watched a short video that showed this tough-looking guy winning a chicken from a bowling alley. It was at that moment that I knew that I had to play this game, and I'm glad I did because it was really fun. It not only had great story and characters, the game's packed full of content. There was so much to see and do. It's crazy how that stuff was mostly optional. Oh, and Yakuza 0 is a prequel to like 6 other games, so it's the perfect place to start if you've never played the Yakuza games like me. With that said, let's get on with the video. Yakuza 0 is set in 1988, and it focuses on its two protagonists who are in Tokyo and Osaka, Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima. Now Kiryu is a low-level Yakuza who is accused of killing a man, so he has to find a way to clear his name. As for Majima, he's an ex-Yakuza running a cabaret club, and he gets into quite the dilemma just to get back into his clan. Majima's intro in the game is awesome, by the way. As much as I love Kiryu, Majima's entrance was just so memorable that I instantly fell for him. So continuing with the plot, while Kiryu and Majima's storylines are happening, the Yakuza families are fighting over this piece of land in Kamurocho called the Empty Lot. It may look tiny, but whoever owns this land will get a ton of money and power. It was easy to get lost in the politics between the Yakuza families in the beginning, and there were so many characters and names to memorize. The game's full of cutscenes and exposition too, and the pacing is pretty slow, so I imagine that some players might have trouble getting into it. The story's absolutely worth the experience though. There's a lot of drama between characters, and it all works well because most of the cast is quite fleshed out. It's not just the good guys too. The more antagonistic ones gave me mixed feelings, like they would do or say horrible things, and suddenly you see this other side of them that makes you sympathize just a little. A lot of the cutscenes are carried by the amazing performances from the voice actors too. Like, I didn't understand what they were saying since the audio is only in Japanese, but they were incredibly convincing. Some of the characters were very intimidating, which is a must because this is about Yakuza after all. The only downside to this is it's not fully voice acted outside of crucial cutscenes. Since the game takes place during an economic boom, Yakuza 0 loves to show just how flashy its setting is. The graphics aren't that great, like there's a lot of textures that pop in and a lot of the animation is kind of dated, but the amount of work done to make the streets and buildings look alive definitely makes up for it. Kamurocho and Sotenbori are the main maps, and they're filled with lights, signboards, and all kinds of entertainment venues. It's the perfect setting to show the not-so-fun stuff going on underneath the facade. I've seen Yakuza 0 being compared to Grand Theft Auto, but it's far from that. Like, Yakuza 0 is not even entirely open world. Both Kamurocho and Sotenbori are smaller maps, but they're detailed and filled with things to do. You're free to explore these areas in between story segments, though you'll usually be chased down by groups of thugs. Yakuza 0 has beat-em-up combat, so you'll be punching and dodging your way through fights. You can switch between 3 fighting styles for both characters. Kiryu has Brawler, Rush, and Beast style, while Majima has Thug, Slugger, and Breaker style. These fighting modes are basically like normal, strong, and weak attacks. You can switch between each style anytime, but there are definitely situations where one might be more effective than the other. Special moves can be performed when you fill your heat gauge, which is accomplished by attacking enemies or getting hit yourself. Some abilities can only be performed if your heat gauge reaches 2 or 3 bars, so it's something that you'll need to pay attention to if you want to do specific moves. You'll unlock certain types of equipment later on, so you can buy or acquire items that can give you special abilities or simply boost your defense. All kinds of weapons can be used in a fight, from swords, nunchucks, and guns. Most have a durability level, so they'll break after a while. I rarely use weapons myself unless I was trying to make a boss fight easier by using a stun gun or something, but I had some fun using the more wacky weapons in fights too. Most of the time I preferred to use the objects around me. When you fight in certain places, you can use objects in the environment, so you can pick up a traffic cone or a motorcycle and smash it on someone's face. It's awesome, but kinda brutal. Even plain hand-to-hand combat is brutal, which is weird because the protagonists are against killing people. There were times where I would pull a special move in a fight and then I would immediately think, oh my god, is he gonna be okay? So yeah, this is one of those games where you have to separate the story from the gameplay. I mean, you can literally punch money out of people, so it's not exactly a game that focuses on realism. Oh, and money is used to upgrade your stats, so you can boost your health or unlock new moves. The game uses something like a skill tree, so investing money in one node can unlock the next nodes connected to it. Some paths might have locked skills, so you'll need to meet certain requirements to get those abilities. These upgrades can get expensive real quick, but you'll be earning way more cash the more you progress through the game. And speaking about progress, it took me a while to finish the first few chapters of Yakuza 0 because I went straight for everything else but the main story. There was so much to see and do, so I explored as soon as the game gave me the freedom to do so. But yeah, there's a bunch of minigames, stores, and restaurants to visit. It's pretty bizarre because you could have been busy beating up like 20 guys on the street just to stop by a karaoke place 5 minutes later. It was a blast though, playing the rhythm game sequence in the disco and experiencing some classic Sega games in the arcade. But some of the activities were so weird. I had a lot of good laughs because of how silly they were. What's cool is even things like trying out all the different drinks in a bar menu contributes to a reward system, completion points. Once you acquire enough CP, you can unlock some abilities and gameplay improvements for Kiryu and Majima in shrines. They're really helpful, like you can upgrade your dash stamina, and you can get a skill to distract enemies by throwing money on the ground. So yeah, there are a ton of diversions to the plot, and I haven't even talked about Substories yet. You'll be encountering a lot of Substories, which are basically side missions. They kind of remind me of anime filler episodes, except they're actually good. They were hilarious and random, but a lot of times they ended in a wholesome way too, and some were so sappy, yet it still managed to make me tear up. Which is weird because the stories range from helping a little boy get his stolen video game back to dealing with an older lady cutting in line. Yeah, the optional stuff is where you meet all the strange characters. As much as I liked doing the sub-stories, it got annoying when I was doing other things in the game. Like, I would be on my way to a store, for example, and then I would suddenly get interrupted by a cutscene that introduces a sub-story. You're not forced to complete the side mission after that, but it still eats up time. Some sub-stories are quite hidden though, like you'll need to befriend specific NPCs. Some of them were actually cute. It makes it feel like Majima and Kiryu are making a difference, even if they're just dropping by to say hello to someone in a convenience store. Since I spent a lot of time with certain minigames, I'll be talking about my experience with the ones that I really liked, so if you consider this to be a spoiler, then feel free to skip ahead. The first one that I got addicted to is the Real Estate Royale minigame for Kiryu. All you need to do is buy properties and assign employees to manage them. There are 5 areas owned by different people, so you'll need to battle them on your way to acquire a 100% share. I don't know why I spent so much time on this one because it was mostly a waiting game. Like, you just need to wait for your staff to collect the money in real time. There was a story to it, of course, but I didn't really pay attention. The minigame was helpful though when I needed the cash for upgrades. I would just do sub-stories or leave the game running while watching a movie. Then I'd return, get my earnings, and do it all over again. Once my share of an area was 100%, I would put the lowest paid staff in charge just so I could profit more. The second one that I got into is Pocket Circuit Racing. I never got the chance to get into this stuff in real life, so I guess playing this was a sort of childhood wish fulfillment thing for me. But yeah, this one was incredibly fun. You could customize your own mini car and race it in various tracks. I had a great time creating the appropriate build for each race, and the sub-stories just added to my enjoyment. The third minigame I got into is Cabaret Club Czar in Majima's section. This one was my favorite in Yakuza 0. It reminded me so much of management games like Diner Dash, and I've always been super addicted to those ever since I was little. It's kinda like Real Estate Royale since you have to earn money by battling other cabaret clubs to gain their area, but this one's more fun to play. When you open your club for business, you'll have to assign hostesses to a customer's table and keep an eye on them. When they ask for assistance, you'll need to figure out their hand signals and attend to them. Every customer has a preference, so you'll have to choose the best hostess to entertain them. Outside of managing the club, I love dressing the hostesses up and having training sessions. The conversations in the sessions are meant to level up your hostesses, but I actually liked how it gave them more of a personality outside of the club's story and gameplay. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. I spent so much time playing this minigame when I unlocked it that I got burned out. And that brings me to one of Yakuza 0's problems. The game can get very grindy, whether it's completing certain minigames, earning cash, or getting some abilities. As much as I like the real estate and cabaret sections, I never actually finished them. It's best to grind optional content after finishing the game, but even if you're a completionist, it's definitely going to be a challenge. But Yakuza 0 is a fantastic game overall. It took me more than 60 hours to complete all 17 chapters, and I spent half of that time on optional content. I highly recommend it. It's a very video gamey game, if you know what I mean. It's just a whole lot of fun to play. The game's pretty accessible too. You can find it on the Xbox One, PS3, PS4, and on PC. It's often on sale too, so yeah, very accessible. I'll probably check out the next Yakuza games after this. In fact, I already got the next two games in my library, Kiwami and Kiwami 2. So I might make more Yakuza videos in the future, and maybe play the spin-off game, Judgment. Let me know what you thought about the video. Making this was kind of a challenge. Like, I had trouble writing stuff, so I had the script floating around for a few months. I think it's because I really liked the game, so I didn't want to talk so much that I spoiled everything, but then I didn't want to talk about it too briefly as well. I hope you guys had fun watching it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.